River City Podcast Federation.
Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. I'm your host, Sara Jones. For this episode, I got to hang out in Seattle with the very funny and very sweet Emmett Montgomery. Emmett Montgomery is a very funny Seattle comedian and aspiring friend to the crows in his neighborhood. He has been doing stand-up comedy and storytelling for years and has been featured on NBC's Last Comic Standing. He was voted Seattle Weekly's Best Comedian in Seattle twice and has performed on dozens of comedy, arts, and music festivals all around the country. Emmett and I walked through a charming Seattle neighborhood, admired the houses there, then walked through a sweet park and sat on a bench at a playground right next to the very haunted Lakeview Cemetery one evening. If you want, check out our Instagram for pictures that go along with the episode. You can find us at Lit Dark Podcast. That's at LITDARK Podcast. Here's our experience. I hope you have as much spooky fun as we did. We've got gargoyles.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. And they have a trampoline.
There's some gargoyles, there's some green men. Look at this purple gate. And so we're approaching the park, which is huge and extensive.
Oh, this one on the left here. That looks like a fairy tale house.
It does. See how the woods are starting to get thicker. Lions. Moldy mossy lions.
Yeah. This is a cool neighborhood.
So we should cross the street. That's going to be the cemetery is going to be on our
left.
Right. I don't.
Oh, on the right.
Oh, left. Yeah.
Okay.
When I first moved here, back in the glory days, Capitol Elvis was, people would talk. This was a hookup park for homosexuals.
Oh. Well, yeah, you said it was like a gay district.
Yeah, well, it
was like the Castro of Seattle.
Yeah. And I don't know if Volunteer Park is that way.
There's hella flies. What are those? Like fruit flies?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I swallowed some.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
You're gonna lay eggs in me. Then I'll really be haunted.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's see, is it glowing at all?
Not yet, it has to get darker.
Okay. I thought we charged it pretty well. So, there's that. This park is massive.
Yeah.
It is windy, weird.
It's beautiful.
Super tall trees.
I love this. I love walking in parks, especially on a nice night like this. I love that.
You get parks so big they have actual streets in the middle of them.
Where people can drive through. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. I think that we're coming to...
Oh, it's a little playground. That's cool. So I don't actually know what this is, but...
This is the conservatory.
Okay.
So they have a corpse flower in here.
Oh.
That
only blooms once every like 20 years or something?
Yeah, I was around for it. It smells horrible.
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to smell like a rotting corpse.
This is the cactus room. When I first moved here, I really missed... You know, if you miss the sun, you can come here and hang out. It's a real cool, beautiful building. Yeah. So this is
awesome.
Nice.
Okay, I'm totally gonna take off my hoodie.
Okay.
Because it's just too hot.
See, I almost died in the desert. I almost froze to death in the desert.
Whoa.
And ever since then, like, temperature has been weird. Like, I'll sweat and I'll shiver. But, like, the hot and cold sometimes gets a little abstract. But I have dreams about freezing to death all
Oh my
the time.
gosh, that's so scary.
But it's like, you know, you get so cold, you start getting warm. Then you don't know what temperature it is.
I could imagine that, like your body goes into shock.
Yeah, people say that, like, freezing to death, they're like, I heard it's real, they're like, about how that's one of the more pleasant ways to go.
Yeah, I've heard drowning is like a weirdly pleasant way to die.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, almost freezing to death, though, sucks.
Yeah, I bet.
It sucks, because coming back from it.
Well, like, and not getting to the point where you're releasing and letting it go. I could see that being tough.
Well, I also had hypothermia and dehydration and
Wait, where was
sunstroke.
this?
It was just in you know, in Utah.
In Utah. Good old Utah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can freeze to death anywhere if you're smart enough, or if you
Dumb
try
enough.
hard enough. Well, you know.
You could walk
really
into the
put your
walk-in
mind to it.
cooler and just, where there's a will.
Yeah. Here we are. We're at this.
All right, well, there's barbed wire on top of the fence, so I don't think jumping the fence is a good idea.
I don't think, especially considering some of the people buried in here, I think that they're a little aware of.
Like Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well,
do we want to
could-
go to that creepy bench and
We could do that.
sit in the
Oh, we could sit, that more open bench is a good one.
this one right here?
This one would work. Yeah. And then maybe when we're done telling stories, we can just walk around the fence and see if there's an opening.
And see what we can
What we can find.
in here with our bags.
That would work. Yeah. Okay. So it is, what is it, about 10 p.m.? It's 9:45. We are at the Lakeview Cemetery on Capitol Hill in Seattle, Washington. This cemetery was founded in 1872, and originally it was the Seattle Masonic Cemetery. It wasn't called the Lakeview Cemetery until 1890. Still a while ago, but...
Oh yeah, the Freemasons are all up in this town. There's all, you can kind of see a lot of the Masonic symbols and some of the cooler buildings, like the Egyptian Theater has all that sort of Orientalist occultism, you know, that was the big trend in the... Because all the dudes that came out here and founded this city were like criminals, like newly rich. They were weird, evil folks. In fact, there's a great movie called The Changeling, which is one of the scariest, with George C. Scott. That is based on this guy, Denny, who was one of the founders of Seattle.
Denny.
Of Seattle.
I'm gonna look through my notes from another episode. I think it's called the Denny Group.
Yeah, well, he was one of the mayors out here.
The Denny Party members.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Denny Party. The pioneers that settled this city.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit. But the changeling, a changeling is an Irish mythological creature.
Yeah, a baby that swapped out for something else is kind of the term, yeah. And so the Changeling is a great Seattle-based story, a ghost story, man. And
I feel like I've seen that. I have to rewatch it.
Oh, yeah, George C. Scott, it is fantastic.
Yeah?
And yeah, real eerie, and set in the mansion on Capitol Hill.
Oh, really?
So we are
where we are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. I think I've actually seen it, but right now I'm not able to remember the details. I'll have to rewatch it, especially now that I've been here and can kind of picture.
George C. Scott is a composer.
Okay.
Whose family is killed in a senseless accident. He loses it. He comes out here to be a teaching artist at the university out here, and the Seattle Historical Society sets him up in a mansion where he starts composing again. He's a piano player, like he's an instrumentalist, and he starts composing this song at this grand piano in this mansion. And as he's playing this song and feeling inspired, a children's ball comes down the staircase, and he follows it, and he finds a hidden room. And in that room, there's just this room that hadn't been opened for, almost 100 years. And inside that room, there's a music box.
Oh, this sounds so familiar. I think I've seen this.
He opens the music box, and it starts playing that song he was just writing.
Oh,
and then it turns out that there's just all these hidden secrets with the Historical Society of
Did it come out like
Seattle.
A few years ago?
Well, there was a movie called The Changeling, but that's about something else.
Oh, okay.
A kidnapping case. No, this is beautiful 1980s Seattle, and it's gray and dirty, and it's wonderful. But when I walk through this park, I think about that movie a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Just all the secrets. If it's a Masonic cemetery, what are the secrets? Because there's all sorts of...
Well, let's see. So it was founded in 1872. Wasn't called the Lakeview Cemetery until 1890. So that means for 18 years, it was just Freemasons that were buried here.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of that. Before we get really into the nitty-gritty, I'm going to go over my sources really quick. So I used atlasobscura.com, thestranger.com, Wikipedia, hauntedhouses.com, capitolhillseattle.com, hubpages.com, a blog called The Field Guide to Seattle's Ghosts found on wordpress.com. It's bestlovejoy.wordpress.com. Okay, so those were my sources. So anyway, they once did a haunted history hiking tour through the Lakeview Cemetery. I don't know if they still do that, but it was a 75-minute hike highlighting the history and the legends of the cemetery, which sounds like it was pretty cool. So notable people that are buried in Lakeview are Princess Angeline, the daughter of Chief Seattle. So Chief Seattle was a native Suquamish and Duwamish chief, after whom the city of Seattle is actually named. Princess Angeline was actually named, I'm going to butcher this, but she was actually named Kiki Samlo, but was given the name Angeline as a white name in order to assimilate her. So when she was told to leave Seattle and to go to a reservation, Princess Angeline, or Kiki Samolo, declined and instead lived in a waterfront cabin, which is badass. She died on May 31st of 1896 at the age of 85. She was buried in a canoe-shaped coffin here at the Lakeview Cemetery on Capitol Hill. Her father, Chief Seattle, predicted that the spirits of the Duwamish will forever be in Seattle, asserting that spirits are not governed by treaties, which I thought was a really powerful statement.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we are definitely on stolen land here, and Chief Seattle got a raw deal. All of the Duwamish did. They are not recognized, but there's a lot of them still here and displaced, and it's yeah.
The still living members of the Duwamish tribe, really?
There are, but it's. Yeah, I went to the indigent burial ceremony that King County does every year for all the unclaimed dead or people who have passed away in their bodies are unclaimed or their next of kin can't afford to bury them, so they do like a mass burial. They cremate them and they put them in a nice monument. And they have they have ministers of all different denominations, including an indigenous person there to say, and they say everyone's names. It was 180 names.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a band.
Look, that's a bat.
Oh yeah. But there were a lot of Duwamish names said, and it's kind of, she's there across that fence in her canoe.
What a cool burial.
Yeah.
So Princess Angeline's spirit has been seen walking up and down the underground ramps of the shopping plaza at the Pike Place Market. You know how they have that whole mall under there? She appears in windows, seemingly window shopping, and also can be seen carrying baskets to sell. Interestingly, she appears in solid form, seeming very much like a real person, but if someone looks close enough, she's very subtly transparent. When she moves, she seems to glide, looking straight ahead, sometimes gliding straight through the wall and other times vanishing into thin air. Yeah.
Oh, the ghost. I guess the scariest ghosts would be the ghosts that just look like people. Yeah,
that you don't think anything of until you notice they're disappearing in front of your eyes, and that's not normal. Yeah. So the Denny Party members who we were just talking about, they were Seattle pioneers, including Carson Boren, Arthur A. Denny, David Swinson, Doc Maynard, that's his full name, but he went by Doc Maynard, and Thomas Mercer. So the Denny Party was a wagon party on the Oregon Trail led by Arthur Denny, who had been on many adventures, including a battle with Native Americans at the American Falls on the Snake River in July of 1851, which they escaped unharmed. They originally settled in Portland, but later left. Eventually, Arthur Denny and his rival, Doc Maynard, which I don't know why they're rivals. And actually, from what I read, Doc seems rad, and Arthur seems, if he's his rival, he seems like a bad guy. But,
There's a great book called Sons of Profit, Profit, about the kind of crooks. Yeah, like there's all these guys have their name, streets named after them. They all had their own different secret schemes to get rich, and it was, this city burnt down. 2 different city planning things were happening, so the streets are kind of a weird riddle, and there's just full of weird basements,
like the
and
streets
tunnels.
When you say the streets are kind of like a riddle, do you mean like the names are kind of conflicting in a way? There's a story behind them?
So they'll start, and then like Denny will turn into John, and then Denny will be over on one side, and it's because what happened is when the city burnt down, they're like, we have to rebuild it, right? And some people, well, we should regrade it first, and other people were like, we need to build right now. And so then they did both. And so you had the Seattle Underground started because these streets got covered. And so there were, so then there were these tunnels. And so like some of the older buildings in Pioneer Square, a lot of that got filled in, but it would go much deeper than what you see. You'd see the top, but there'd be roots down there.
Interesting.
Yeah, churches, whorehouses.
Oh,
banks,
wow.
all
so just driving around downtown Seattle, you can see all this like history, and what you might think is just confusing and dumb the way they set it up is actually like a bunch of controversy.
Well, it's a story,
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's... but these people came out, these new millionaires, and you know, this was a forest where we are. There were all these trees, and that was the main export. And so there were people that were living here, and they stole the trees and the land from the folks here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff. I mean, this whole city is all about stuff underneath it.
That's an interesting concept. The Denny Party was a wagon party on the Oregon Trail led by Arthur Denny. I said he had many adventures battling the Native Americans. They originally settled in Portland and later left.
Yeah.
I went over all of this. Oh yeah, so I don't know why Doc was his rival, but at any rate, Doc Maynard was an American pioneer, a doctor, and a businessman. But he would go on to lead the development of Seattle. Doc Maynard developed a friendship with Chief Seattle, which became important in the formation of the city. Another guy buried here is named William Harvey Lillard, and he was the first ever chiropractic patient.
Whoa.
Do you know about him?
No, but I just...
Isn't that scary?
The first one to get his back cracked.
Yes.
Is that how we...
That's not how he died. You would think so, right? Yeah. When I shadowed Noah Beadell at OHSU, the first time I shadowed him, he goes, "Have you ever gone to a chiropractor?" And not to talk shit about chiropractors, because there are good ones. But he goes, "Have you ever done that?" Because he was a neurologist. And I go, "Well, yeah, it feels kind of good. Like they crack your back, they crack your neck, whatever." And he goes, "Yeah, stop doing that."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." He told a story. He goes, "Yeah, we had this 19-year-old boy. He got in a car accident, pretty minor. He had some issues. Went to a chiropractor, came back a paraplegic."
Yeah, I remember because there was this family back home that they swore by chiropractic.
In Utah?
In Utah, yeah. I'm one of 7 boys.
Wow.
Yeah, mid-sized family for Utah. I got my 6 brothers, but then the family down the street had 14 kids.
Oh my gosh.
But they all went to the chiropractor, and I remember going along with them and hanging out in the lobby and reading, but it like, what is chiropractic? And this children's book of like skeletons, it seemed so weird. My wife loves her chiropractor, and I think he's one of the good ones, but it feels
that's what
like
I'm saying.
Weird bone magic.
Yeah. And so it's like some people stand by it, but at the same time, it's one of those things that if you do it right, it's amazing. And if you fuck it up, you really fuck it up. And so that's the issue. But William Harvey Lillard, so his story is super interesting. Lillard had been almost completely deaf for 17 years after he had sustained a back injury, which he actually didn't connect. It was like he had a back injury, he also went deaf, kind of a thing. Probably just a tough month. He stated that he could not hear, quote, "the racket of a wagon on the street or the ticking of a watch." He told this to a doctor named D.D. Palmer, who became the father of chiropractic.
D.D. Palmer.
D, like the initials, D period, D period, not like D.D. But Palmer looked at William Lillard's spine and found a lump between his shoulders, and eventually convinced Lillard to allow him to, quote, "rack his bone back into position." How cringy. It's so cringy. Yeah. But Palmer actually believed that Lillard's hearing loss was the result of a misalignment of the spine, which blocked the spinal nerves controlling his inner ear. A few days after he pushed the vertebrae back into place, Palmer reported that his hearing was much better, and eventually it was fully restored. Remarkably, his hearing remained intact for the rest of his life.
That is...
Wild.
And so that straight spine is in the ground behind us.
Well, yeah, that's right. It's straight as an arrow, I'm sure.
Yes.
No pun intended on the grounds. But I wish we could see it. Yeah. But yeah, so he's here. That's crazy, isn't it? That's nuts. Can you imagine being deaf for 17 years and be like, that's just how it is now?
And, they just have your
someone
back
just
popped.
cracks your back and suddenly you can hear? That's weird.
Oh.
He had no idea what he was risking.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because it's like back injury, deaf, and then you can't walk.
Well, that's right. It's like, what if you can't hear or walk?
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. But hey, so another interesting person buried here is John W. Nordstrom. He's the founder of the Nordstrom department store. And I didn't learn a lot about John, but I did learn that he emigrated from America, or to America from Sweden, when he was 16 years old with $5 to his name, which I thought was really cool. Everyone's heard of Nordstrom. My mom used to take us there growing up. He died of a cerebral hemorrhage on October 11th, 1963 at the age of 92. Probably the most famous person buried here is Bruce Lee. He was a famous martial artist and actor. His son, Brandon Lee, and his first ever student of martial arts, Jesse Glover, are all buried here. Tragically and ironically, both Bruce and his son died while on the set of the films they were working on at the time. I always talk with my hands when I'm reading, so ignore that.
Fantastic.
Okay, great, thank you. Bruce was only 32 when he died of cerebral edema, and that's a swelling of the brain caused by the presence of excessive fluid. So while working in his studio, it was actually a reaction to a muscle relaxant he had taken for a headache, which sucks. It's such a minor thing, and someone's like, here, this'll help, and he died from it. That sucks. Especially from cranial pressure. That's not a comfortable way to die.
Oh man, that's a lot of back and head stuff. And
a lot of neuro here.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it, but
there we go.
That's my other passion. Here we go. Built right in. His son Brandon was only 28 when he was, and that's how old I am. That sucks. His son Brandon was only 28 when he was accidentally shot and killed on the set of The Crow. Did you know about this?
Oh, yeah, I remember when it happened.
Oh my God, so scary.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it. So a prop gun went off on accident. They only had 8 days left of filming, and with the blessing of Brandon's mother and fiance, with a stunt double and special effects to give him Brandon's face, they continued filming through the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So essentially there's a scene in The Crow where Brandon Lee, the actor, he is found in bed with someone else, cheating or something, and an actor shoots him with a prop gun. Have you seen The Crow?
I have seen The Crow. So criminals break in and murder him and his wife. Yeah.
Criminals break in and murder him and his wife?
Or his love or something like that, yeah.
Something so the point is, it's supposed to be a prop gun. They put in, I read this whole description of what actually happened. It was a total accident.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be blanks, and for some reason, there was a bullet lodged in the, I don't know anything about guns.
In the chamber.
The chamber.
Something like that.
Something like.
Yeah.
Anyway, he died.
He died, and that was, it made it the gothiest of all goth movies.
That's true. Yeah.
That was a sad make-out movie in high school. I mean, a lot of melancholy finger banging to that.
Yeah, which is, Brandon Lee posthumously received an MTV Movie Award nomination for Best Male Performance and a Fangoria Chainsaw Award for Best Actor for that role. Which is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he was dead,
Yeah.
but he nailed it.
We've seen it all before, so let's reload on a very special episode of shows that sucked and shows that blowed. Buckle up, buttercup, it's a bumpy road.
From the very different strokes of child molestation to B. Arthur's abortion to refrigerator danger and Uncle Phil's erotic massage. From Life Day to Death Day. Join us, the gang who brought you Saved by the Bell reviewed. We're at it again as pop culture slop vultures. Please join us at a very special episode, podcast.com, and also the River City Podcast Federation for a very special good time.
Seen so much TV that we're gonna explode next time on a very special episode.
I think I forgot to mention this source, but it's ghostandcritters.com. And I only recognize it because it's my favorite name of a source. One visitor to the cemetery named Jeff, typed up his experience on the website. He took a picture of Bruce Lee's gravestone. And Bruce Lee's gravestone is like a glossy granite gravestone. And right across from it, there's a little bench. And he took a picture of the gravestone just with a regular disposable camera and produced a very clear apparition in the reflection of the gravestone. I looked at the picture online, and it actually seems pretty ordinary when you look at it, because it just looks like someone sitting on the bench across from the Bruce Lee's gravestone, and that their reflection can be seen in the grave. However, Jeff claims that he and his girlfriend were alone in the cemetery that day, that the person in the reflection does not even look similar to his girlfriend, and furthermore, that his girlfriend was in fact standing behind the gravestone when the photograph was taken. Ooh. So the picture itself just it doesn't even look that exciting. You're like, yeah, someone's sitting on the bench, I get it. But the fact that nobody was there is kind of interesting. I'm going to try to remember to include that photo in the Instagram for this episode. And that way everyone else can look at it and be like, yeah, this looks like a normal ass. But knowing that nobody was there is kind of cool. And that's the thing about catching an amazing picture of a ghost, is that if it's too good, it doesn't look that cool.
Me and my best friend Dean Krasmaski, who grew up two doors down from me, we were little kids. We were obsessed with ghosts. We grew up Mormon. Mormons have their own kind of cosmic thing, but just it's in Mormonism, the whole concept is that we all existed. All of us existed before. Oh. And in the pre-existence, and there was a big war in the pre-existence, led between Satan and God about what to do about free will. Oh. And a third of the host of heaven, so it's half as many people that will ever live here on Earth were cast out and never given bodies. And they were cast out from heaven to this rough, unpleasant place, Earth, right? Oh, so no. So all those angry spirits. No, we're here. Oh, okay. Because we won that battle, so we got our bodies, and we had the chance to go to heaven and everything.
Oh, I see. I got it.
But all of Satan and everybody who went with Satan, they're here though, without bodies. On the planet. Yeah, spirits.
Okay, got it. Like demons?
Now, yeah.
Okay.
And they're everywhere, like an evil frequency, right? Mm-hmm. And the only way is to be protected by God and the Holy Ghost. You have to do the right stuff. But if you fuck up, if you open the door, they're waiting for you. Oh, well, I thought I saw somebody walking, but there's nobody over there. But I think about that a lot, and so we grew up with that pressure. Yeah. So ghosts were almost fun. Mm-hmm. But we would. I grew up in the satanic panic hung around in Utah for a long time, and so we waited for You know, like every abandoned building was probably full of devil worshippers and ghosts. Mm-hmm. You know, and we'd hang out at cemeteries and maybe hope that there was just
something there.
Something, and maybe something different than what we were told was there.
And just for listeners to get an idea of where we are right now, it is 10:10 p.m. We are sitting in front of the cemetery. We're sitting right in between a child's park and the cemetery on a bench.
In a heavily wooded park here.
Yes, the sun is going down. It's mostly gone down.
Yeah.
And it's a warm summer night, but as it's getting darker, it's definitely getting creepier.
Yeah.
And both Emmett and I are kind of looking over our shoulders while we're talking, for sure.
Especially now we know the names of the people that
right? We're like, Bruce Lee, what do you got for us? Okay, so blah blah blah. Oh yeah, so that picture, I think that what's so cool about it is that it doesn't look that different than just a person sitting on the bench. But if it's just a person sitting there, it's not that cool. But if it's an actual spirit, what an amazing photograph of a ghost.
Is it Bruce Lee? Is that what
some people, I'll get into that, but some people do think they see Bruce Lee sitting on the bench. And I looked at the picture online, and it kind of looks like him in a way. It's just like a side profile of someone just sitting there. And I mean, it's like a short, dark-haired, like, you know, white, possibly Asian looking person, but it's just their side profile sitting on the bench. And I thought that, I was like, that could be, because a lot of people see him sitting on the bench across from where his gravestone is.
Man, if he's hanging out in that cemetery, is everyone hanging out in that cemetery?
There's a lot of people that are seen there. I'll kind of go into like the ones I found, but yeah, I'll go into it. So one account I read online was from a guy who said that he was here with his girlfriend also, and they caught a glimpse of a lady. This one freaks me out for some reason. So it was a lady running from tree to tree and between bushes, and even between gravestones, playfully peeking over at them over each obstacle she came across. So just running around and like peeking.
I kind of look. You see those trees out there? Doesn't it kind of feel like there could be people out there?
If you saw a lady just peeking out and then kind of running to another gravestone and peeking out of that, fuck that. That'd be so creepy.
When I first moved here, I lived in a place in the Central District, like one room in a large house, and an efficiency apartment. And I would come home, and tiny little palm prints would form on my windows. Right?
No way.
And it looked like just like little baby hands.
Creepy.
And it was just, and then one night I saw I heard it, and I saw the figure, and raccoons. It was little raccoons.
Oh my God.
But it was, but just, and I would, you know, I'd stumble in from working at the video store, and I would see these hands form, these little tiny palm prints, but then seeing the palms pressed until I realized it was a raccoon was just
so scary.
So fantastic. But just that thought of seeing, because just, you see that tree there?
This one right close to us?
Yeah. But what if there is a woman standing
peeking out of it?
No, what if she's just standing there?
And we
right
don't see
behind
her
it.
right now.
But she could.
And what if you were just staring at it and she peeked her head out and went back
Or just,
really quickly?
Just a little pump. Do you see it? Do you see the
It would be so scary.
There is a woman behind that tree. There are women behind all these trees. Just waiting to look at us.
Okay, you see this tree and then those other two in the distance? Yeah. What if while we were talking about this, heads came out of all of them and went back?
You know, I think it's just when we turn away, they're looking at us.
That could be.
So we have to keep looking at those trees.
Just make sure they don't look at us.
Yes.
We have to win this.
Don't turn. Okay. Don't look at. We can't look at each other.
I have to look at my notebook.
No, we have to look at these
While we're
trees.
looking at them, your handprint story. I've never talked about this on the podcast, but it's never seemed relevant until this second. But I had 2 older stepbrothers growing up. And my older stepbrother, Rob, he was 6 years, he still is, 6 years older than me. And he told, I think he made it up, he told this story about what he called the Boogalins. Do you want to know about the Boogalins?
Yes, I'd love to hear about the Boogalins.
So I am from Michigan, and we would go up north in the summers, which is like northern Michigan, and Rob would tell the story of the Boogalins who lived on Lake Michigan. They lived in the dunes of Lake Michigan, and that they were like kind of demonic creatures. They had hands for feet and feet for hands, like they were like upside down, and they were man-eaters. Like they would eat men and eat people. They were called the Boogalins, and he made them up like at a campfire story, like, you know, like we were all sitting around the fire and he told this story about the Boogalins. And I was so afraid of the Boogalins for like years. Like I totally was afraid of them. And he said that like you can tell that they've been around because you'll see their handprints places. And when you talked about the handprints on your car, that made me think of the Boogalins.
Well, it was on my window in my little apartment.
It was on your window?
So in my bedroom window, these hands
in your bedroom window? Man.
Yeah, and I would just watch.
Yeah.
This tiny, and it was in this old house, this 100-year-old house, and which, while I was living there, became a crack house. Because crack dealers moved in and people sold and did crack there.
Oh.
Yeah, and I lived I moved to a creepy attic after that. But,
great.
One day when one of my little brothers, one day came into the house and he was real distressed and his eyes were real wide, and he said to me and my brother, he was like, "Witchens in the tree is gonna eat them eggs," is what he said.
Witchens?
Witchens in the tree is gonna eat them eggs, and he didn't want us to go outside. He was real distressed about something that was happening in the backyard. Just remember that. And so we would talk about the Witchens, you know, these things, these egg eaters, because we had all these songbirds that would nest in this big tree in our backyard. But just one day, Jesse just came in terrified, little kid, you know, something's out there, the Witchens in the trees, gonna eat them eggs. And in a weird way, that phrase, like the Boogalins, all these things, it's still a little childlike fear. Because for a brief moment, like, what if there is something out there?
I know. Yeah, nothing scares me quite like the Boogalins. It's like that weird
handprints
thing.
in the
sand at the dunes. Yeah, that they only come out at night and they eat people. That's, yeah. I just like, you see that distant tree right off there?
It feels, yeah, like there's
I just imagine seeing a woman like really quickly running, like unnaturally quickly running behind the other tree closer by.
Yeah, they're getting closer.
If we saw that and then we were like, we saw nothing for like 20 minutes and then she came to this one right close to us.
Well, here's the thing. So we have the cemetery behind us. We have so much park to the right of us. We can see the glimpse of this street, but I think it's still like 100 or so feet to the street. I mean, And then there's those lights are deeper into the park, so that'd be a false
sense of security. I'll try to take it's so dark that trying to take a picture now, I try to take it when it's still dusk.
Yeah.
That no, it's not gonna like do it any justice for what we're like looking at.
But so we're deep in.
We're deep in it. Okay.
Oh, we got it. Oh.
Yeah, now that we're sufficiently spooked. So the woman going from obstacles is just the creepiest one to me by far.
Yeah.
Like, I've been thinking about that the whole time we've been here. But to just imagine her like running between these trees, so scary.
One of the last buses. Well, actually, I think bus will run, but late night buses are scary too. You can just see.
Yeah.
Just heard it come by.
Some people do claim to see Bruce Lee's ghost sitting on the bench across from his grave, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
His spirit has been seen many places around Seattle, and even as far away as Los Angeles, California. Interestingly, Bruce Lee's spirit is often seen carrying a book, but nobody knows what book he's actually holding. Nobody has been able to say like what it's called or what it is. But he's holding a book, which is so interesting to me. I want to know what it is. Do you know?
No.
Oh, you're just curious about it.
Just...
Brandon Lee, Bruce's son, has also been spotted around Seattle, but when approached, his spirit vanishes.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, what was that?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That sounded.
There's like a heartbeat sound that I'm hearing, like that, and then there's twigs breaking, like branches breaking.
Oh. I haven't. You know, you live in this city. You live in this huge, dense neighborhood, and like it's just people on top of people. And then we just walked half a mile, and then we're in this. I mean, we're still around by people, but most of them are dead.
Well, yeah, a good amount of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I did hear that. It does sound like there's like a person in here.
I don't feel alone. That's what's scary when you don't feel alone.
Yeah. It's definitely like your senses are like hyper attuned to what you're experiencing. That's what I like about being in haunted places. Like you're really tuned in to like where you are. Do you think there's Boogalins here?
It's too dark to see handprints, so.
That's true. But they're probably all over us.
Oh my goodness.
Another
There's
prominent.
Witchens in them trees.
There's Witchens and there's egg-eating Witchens in them trees. Oh my God! I swear, I just thought I saw something in the park, but it's nothing.
Oh.
Another prominent person buried here is a famed baseball player named Jeff Heath of the Cleveland Indians. Do you know who that is?
No.
Me neither. His career was ended when he broke his ankle, which sucks a lot. He later died of a heart attack at age 60 in December of 1975. Ironically, at the moment of his death, many of Heath's former teammates in baseball were attending a memorial service for Leo Lassen, an American baseball announcer in Seattle. So they were already at a memorial service, and then their other buddy died, and they're like, are you fucking kidding me? This is fucked up.
Did they stick around for the funeral?
Well, probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure like they didn't really know about it until after they left, and then they were like, oh my God, what's going on?
Okay, it felt like maybe that was just one of the probably thousands of rats that live in this park. I swear I saw something run through this playground.
It's a creepy ass spot, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is.
So Jeff Heath's ghost can be spotted at a nearby softball field in uniform watching games. He's also been spotted at other people's funerals here, but when people go to approach him, he vanishes before their eyes. A security guard of this cemetery says that he got so used to seeing his ghost that he just stopped bothering him.
He just was like...
I'm like, oh, that's that baseball dude. Leave him alone.
What did that was something. Oh my goodness.
I think it was an animal.
Or a falling branch.
Yeah.
Or a... But think of it, yeah, just a considerate funeral going ghost. That's, baseball guy is oddly the scariest one for me.
I think he's sweet. I like him because he goes to other softball games and like enjoys them, and then he goes to other funerals, and he seems to have this like empathy for
a real community spirit.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, in all senses of the term.
But like a nice guy. Here's the thing, isn't that, you finally meet a nice guy? And
when?
And now.
But my favorite ghost.
Oh, here we are.
Don't worry, you're gonna love this.
Okay.
In this whole cemetery, by far, is Buck. Buck is a cattle horse. I knew you were gonna love this. Who was so loved by his owner, a man named Irving Wally, that he had the horse buried beneath an 8-foot monument here. So there was an article about it in the newspaper that infuriated locals. They're like, you put a fucking horse in the cemetery, what the fuck? So the marker was removed, but not Buck's body. Some people claim to see a glowing white horse nibbling at the grass between gravestones.
And then as we're looking at the gravestones, all of the women are looking at us from the trees.
From above, they're
the
crouched.
Witchens.
The Witchens are just eating their eggs. So that is all for the story. And now we're just here to experience it.
Well, I mean, we should have walked back through this park.
Yeah.
Horse ghosts. Once I was coming home from a party in Utah. I was 20, 21, something like that. I was just walking. It was starting, it was maybe 4 or 5. Sort of the hint of light was happening. Right?
Yeah. It's
Things were waking up, but it was very much alone.
Yeah.
And I remember it just, kind of a suburban, there were some orchards and some small farms, but real Orem was pretty suburban. It's much more developed now. But as I'm walking, I hear this noise that I just could not register that's getting louder and louder. And a horse just gallops past me. And there is a flashlight approaching us, it looks like. Okay.
That's like 2 kids.
2 people, yeah. For a sec, just that bobbing light.
You're like, it's Buck.
But this horse just goes past me, and I didn't feel real. It was just, you don't expect a horse at 5 in the morning. And what happened is, I guess a horse had just gone out of its little stable, But just that moment of, is this real? And it came towards me and then kept on going. I think I was so, I would have let it trample over me because
You were just in shock.
Well, I was still a little drunk too, but it was just like, it was real sobering. It was a sobering horse moment. You know those morning sobering horse moments.
Oh yeah, we've all been there at least once. I hope you enjoyed your visit with Emmett and I to the Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle, Washington. If you live in or around the Seattle area, be sure to check out Emmett Montgomery's variety show, Weird and Awesome with Montgomery, at the Annex every first Sunday. You can also find Emmett at his strange basement show called The Magic Hat every Monday night at the Rendezvous. And his stand-up showcase, Joke Tellers Union, is every Wednesday at the Clock Out Lounge. If you are not close to Seattle but still want to learn more about where you can find this fascinating and wonderful human, be sure to check out his self-proclaimed, poorly maintained, but soon-to-be rebuilt website, emmettmontgomery.com, for his calendar. That's EMMETTMONTGOMERY.com. For jokes and his thoughts, find Emmett on Twitter at EmmettFungomery. That's EMMETTFUNGOMERY. To take a look at his drawings and such, find Emmett on Instagram at Emmett Montgomery. While you're at it, maybe take a look at our website too. We have some new merchandise available now. Find us at litdarkpodcast.com. That's LITDARKpodcast.com. If you love this show, please subscribe. We would really appreciate it if you threw us a 5-star rating on iTunes too. Mention what you love about the show in your review. It helps us out tremendously. Special thanks for this episode goes to Sara Schneider, my manager, Jonathan Cooper, my graphic designer, Randall Lawrence, my producer, Nick Wilson at Bridge City Media and Design, Dan Stutzman for being you and all you do, Emmett Montgomery, my wonderful guest, and a very special thanks to all of you for listening.
City Podcast Federation.